Steve, thank you. And yeah, we get one pass for the president's. This was not called the State of the Union this year. It was because the first one is called the presidential address, and Steve sat in the gallery, and we got to spend part of the day together. So good to see you. Thank you all for coming. This is a cross section of this city and this county and this university and this state, and thanks for joining me for what I think is one of the central issues of our times, of our economy, of justice, of the direction this country's going in. When I was first elected to the Ohio legislature many years ago, I used to spend hours when the legislature is out of session at United Steelworkers Local 169 on Longview Avenue in Mansfield and at Local 549, UAW Local 549 in Ontario. I would spend hours there talking with workers who stopped in the hall before and after their shifts. I spent hours really listening more than talking. I learned how they made steel. I learned how they built cars. They worked hard. Most of them gladly worked a six-day week for the overtime pay. They owned, yes, most of them owned modest homes. They could move up the income ladder. They could build a better life for themselves and for their families and their children at Johnny Appleseed Junior High. That was really the name of my junior high. So 3 decades later, the hopes and desires that I hear from Ohioans has not really changed. They want the same things as those auto workers and those steel workers. They want to be valued for the work they do. They want to be able to save for the future. They want to be able to own a home. They want to be able to take their family on a vacation once in a while. They want to build better lives for their children. What has changed, unfortunately, is that people no longer see that path to get there through hard work. And too often they're right. We have some Ohioans in the audience today among us who wrote to me concerned about these issues. Becky Morgan with her family from Tip City, Jeffrey Dabe from Delaware, my friend Rita Lewis, who has fought for pensions, for deserved pensions for mine workers and Teamsters. Stephen Hill, who introduced me, who owns Sperano's Pizza in Columbus and in Galloway, is here and was in Washington with me on Tuesday because of that letter that he wrote to us. These Ohioans all understand that hard work just doesn't, unfortunately, for too many people, pay off like it used to. Politicians in Washington too often look solely at the unemployment rate to measure how the economy's doing. The unemployment rate is one thing, but whether workers have jobs that pay a decent wage and provide security to them and their families is another thing. The unemployment rate certainly doesn't reflect the frustration, doesn't reflect the worry, the anger, the pain that workers have. Wages and benefits have declined or stagnated for most American workers for decades. People earn less. People can't save for retirement as easily. People feel less stable, all while working harder and, frankly, producing more for their employer than ever before. Work has changed significantly in this country compared to 50 years ago. Of course, people do different jobs in different ways. It's not just what we now call the gig economy. App-based companies may have invented new ways for consumers to buy services or products, but they haven't discovered new employer-employee relations. Businesses have been using temporary workers and subcontractors and independent contractors to pay people less for the same work for decades. This troubling trend of cutting costs at worker expense isn't unique to this type of worker. Workers on the traditional payroll have also seen their wages and their benefits and their job security whittled away, and they're less likely to have a union card to protect them. When Ohioans reminisce about the good jobs that have disappeared, I'm willing to bet most of those jobs were union jobs. As manufacturing employment declined, the share of the workforce represented by unions has declined with it. I can accept the workforce is changing. We know that. But what we can't accept, what we shouldn't accept, is that more and more of our workers are paid less and have little economic security. We need to update our economic policies, our retirement policies, our labor laws to reflect today's economy. And when I talk about American workers, I'm talking about all workers, whether you punch a clock or whether you fill out a timesheet or whether you make a salary or whether you earn tips. Whether you're a contract worker or a temp, you're an American worker. Whether you work in a call center or a bank or on a factory floor, you're an American worker. The problem hits women and minority workers particularly hard but men and women from all backgrounds in big cities and small towns like my hometown of Mansfield, in communities in Appalachia have all faced an erosion of the value of the work they do. It affects blue-collar workers. It affects white-collar workers. It's a problem in the industrial heartland. It's a problem in the East Coast and the West Coast. Between 2000 and 2013, the middle class shrunk in every single state in this country. That hurts our economy. When hard work doesn't pay off, when workers have less economic security, when their paychecks don't reflect their sweat and their hard work, our economy can't grow. That's why I came to the Glenn College of Public Affairs to introduce my plan for restoring the value of work for all Americans. You can find a full copy of this plan called Working Hard for Too Little on my website at brown.senate.gov. The Glenn School was founded to inspire the next generation of active, engaged citizens. That's why I'm excited to see students here and to see even my old professors. I just saw you there, Doug. My very young but long time ago professors. That's the way I meant to say that, Doug. My friend John Glenn knew from personal experience, as he wrote in his memoir, that government can change people's lives for the better. That's what this plan will do. Decades of trade agreements that put corporate profits over American workers are, in fact, a major part of the problem. I've been fighting for a fairer trade agenda since I cast a vote against NAFTA my first year in Congress. President Trump and I agree on this. I hope to work with him to renegotiate NAFTA and to build a trade agenda that puts workers first. But new trade agreements alone, no matter how well negotiated, can't sustain a strong middle class that the U.S. economy needs. We need to change the failed thinking that allowed Washington to put corporate profits ahead of American workers in our trade agenda. We need to change the way we think about the American economy. Trickle-down economics, the view that businesses drive our economy, so taking care of corporations will take care of workers. Trickle-down economics has been discredited time and time again. While Wall Street has made billions, the average bank teller in this country the average bank teller earns $26,000 a year. At my high school reunion in Mansfield last year ago, September, a woman who had worked in a bank for 30 years as a teller told me she made $30,000 after 30 years as a teller. Middle managers have seen their benefits cut too. It's not just about the lowest wage workers in companies. It's not businesses who drive the economy, it's workers, and we need to understand that. We grow the economy from the middle class out. If work isn't valued, Americans can't earn their way to a better life for their families, no matter how hard they work. And without a strong middle class to consume goods and services, our economy will limp along and simply can't grow the way that it should. Over the last 40 years, GDP has gone up, corporate profits have gone up, executive salaries have gone up, all because of the productivity of American workers. But workers haven't shared in the economic growth they created. Say that again. Profits have gone up, the economy's grown, profits have gone up, executive salaries have gone up, productivity has gone up dramatically, yet workers haven't shared in the wealth they've created for their businesses. From 1948 to 1973, productivity increased 97% in that 25-year period. Wages followed suit, growing about 90%. Productivity went up 90+%, wages went up 90+%. Worker productivity since then continues to ascend, continues to the steep ascent that we have been used to, while hourly compensation since then has grown by only 10%. Businesses seem more focused on cutting costs and investing in their workforce. Workers are often nothing more than a line item in a budget, a cost to be minimized. What it means to be an employee has changed. More businesses use temporary workers and contractors and subcontractors. They pay lower wages. They provide less security. They provide fewer benefits. They provide, indeed, fewer legal protections. A woman from Columbus wrote to me about her work as a temp. She knows colleagues who worked in the same warehouse for 2 years, but they're still classified as temps. They don't earn the same sick leave. They don't get the same health care. They don't get the same retirement benefits as permanent workers. Her work assignment was terminated when she got pregnant, when she was 6 months pregnant. Now, firing somebody because she's pregnant is against the law. But you know what? This company didn't have to fire her. They just sent her back to the temp agency. Of course, all executives and owners aren't heartless Scrooges. I would never say that. I know who helps to drive this economy with workers. But they're operating within a system that has become too focused on short-term profits. Corporations have become beholden to the quarterly earnings report. One survey of financial executives from public companies found that 78% would sacrifice the economic value of their own companies just to meet financial reporting requirements that they feel are imposed on them. That's no way to grow our economy. Families don't think in terms of 3-month earnings. They don't think in terms of quarterly reports. Families think in terms of school years and 30-year mortgages and the years left to save for retirement. This plan will make work pay off by raising wages and benefits, by giving workers more power in the workplace, and by encouraging companies to invest in their greatest asset, the American worker. First, we need to raise pay and benefits for all workers. It means raising the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour so that everyone who puts in the time earns a living wage. Right now, workers working full-time in the federal minimum wage make under $16,000 a year. We can't stop at the minimum wage. Workers up and down the income ladder make far less than they should for the hours they work. Too many workers are living from one emergency away from catastrophe. We fix that by investing in workers through overtime pay, through paid sick leave, through paid family leave. No one should have to choose between caring for a loved one and keeping a job. When we strengthen workplace standards, we make work more valuable to all Americans. We put more money in a worker's pocket. We give workers the flexibility they need to raise families or care for loved ones and to live fuller, healthier lives. Last year, about a year ago, I stood at Ginny's Ice Cream with the Vice President of the United States and the Secretary of Labor to announce a new overtime rule that guarantees extra pay for extra work. This would have put more money in the pockets of workers like Kevin G. of Warren, Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. Kevin wrote me last winter. He works every week between 55 and 65 hours for a salary of $40,000. No matter if he works 42 hours or 52 hours or 62 hours, he makes $40,000 a year. No matter how many extra work hours he works, he doesn't make a cent. He says, I work enough hours that a second job is impossible, yet as taxes and inflation rise, it's expected for the labor laws to not apply to me because I make just enough to survive. Kevin is not alone. Increasing economic security also means expanding retirement security. Part of the bargain we have in this country is that if you work hard your whole life, you ought to be able to spend your later years with your grandchildren, not just trying to make ends meet. Margaret Mead once said, knowledge and wisdom are passed from grandparent to grandchild. Knowledge and wisdom are passed from grandparent to grandchild. The special relationship they have helps the grandparent, helps the grandchild, makes our country better and makes our family stronger. Our retirement system was built on employer-sponsored savings account, but more workers find themselves in jobs without any employer-sponsored retirement plans, without the ability to save for the future. We need to make retirement and savings programs accessible and essentially portable for all workers. Programs like MyRA and automatic IRA plans can help. MyRA is a program piloted a couple of years ago by the Obama administration that allows workers to open savings accounts with as little as $25 and, importantly, no fees. They can contribute as little as $5 per paycheck. 30 states are looking at this option. 5 already have plans that automatically enroll workers whose retirements are not covered by an employer or in a state IRA plan. We need to build state innovation, but instead the Senate will vote in the next few days on whether to roll back this Obama-era program. We need to expand opportunities for independent contractors to create their own retirement plans without outrageous costs and fees. open multiple employer plans. I'm working on a proposal with Senator Crapo, a Republican from Idaho, would allow small businesses to pool together in the same sort of private, high-quality, defined contribution retirement plans that are offered by large employers. These plans should include independent contractors, giving them access to fully portable retirement accounts across multiple jobs and work arrangements. Let's say you work in childcare, you're a full-time nanny. You don't have a traditional employer the way we look at it. You have a family who pays you by the hour. You use a 1099 tax form. This plan would allow you to start saving for retirement and will allow you to keep your retirement plan even if you change jobs to another employer. So say you're a small business trying to get your startup off the ground. You have 2 employees. You could join this open MEP plan so you and your workers could still save for retirement while you build your business. Lack of benefits is a major barrier to anyone who wants to do freelance work or take on more contract work. It holds back entrepreneurs. It depresses innovation. When all workers can earn benefits, regardless of the sort of work that they do, more Americans can strike out on their own and pursue their entrepreneurial dreams, pursue the dream they've had for years, and our economy will be more dynamic. We also need to give workers more power over their own lives and their own schedules. That means going after employees who misclassify their workers. They pretend they're independent contractors. They misclassify their workers just so they can avoid paying their fair share of taxes and wages. First, we're going to give the IRS the authority to audit companies who try to cheat the rules. Second, we're going to end the charade of massive corporations who classify nearly their entire workforce as independent contractors. If you have hundreds of independent contractors, those aren't freelancers the way you might hire someone to come in and fix your leaky roof or fix your refrigerator. You might bring a consultant to help with a short-term project. These are your employees. You need to treat them that way, not as independent contractors. So if you have 500 independent contractors and $7.5 million in annual receipts, you should, in fact, the law should require that you pay half of the payroll tax, what all other employers do, half the payroll taxes for those workers. We need to crack down on the ways that corporations marginalize even their own direct employees. It means ending wage theft when employees don't pay workers what they're owed. It happens far too often. Bosses forcing employees to work a few minutes here, an hour there, off the clock, not paying workers the overtime that they are owed and the law requires, or not paying the full wages for the hours worked. They are essentially daring the employee to complain and risk getting fired. We need to give workers advance notice of schedules, particularly young parents, so they can plan doctor's appointments and daycare and transportation. And we must expand collective bargaining rights. More and more Americans work in service sector jobs, yet service jobs have some of the lowest rates of unionization. All work has dignity. There's nothing inherently less valuable about caring for a child than there is manufacturing a tire. But without a union to protect them, too many of these service workers, and too many workers, period, have a little place to turn these jobs into the ladders to the middle class. We need to update labor law to ensure that workers trying to form unions don't face discrimination and that companies are not able to tie up unionization efforts in legal challenges. Modernizing labor law means recognizing the right of all workers, even those in alternative work arrangements, to collectively bargain for higher pay and better benefits. When corporations refuse to pay workers a living wage, refuse them the opportunity to save for retirement, refuse to provide decent health care, they, in fact, are a drag on the economy. When corporations pay poverty-level wages, someone else has to pick up the tab. Spoiler alert, it's you. It's you as taxpayers. In the form of you as taxpayers pay for food stamps for low-income workers, you pay for housing vouchers for low-income workers, you pay, yes, for Medicaid for low-income workers, and you pay for other government benefits that these low-income workers, by nature of their income, are making. My plan creates a corporate freeloader fee for all corporations whose pay is so low that taxpayers are forced to subsidize those workers. It's simple. If you choose to pay your workers so little and your business plan as a company and your profitability depends on your paying those workers so little that they are disproportionately forced into government assistance, then you need to reimburse American taxpayers. This will save tax dollars, obviously. It will give companies an added incentive to invest in one of their greatest resources, their human capital. Plenty of companies already recognize that investing in workers is good for business. I want to call a couple of them out in addition to Steve, some larger companies too. Corporations like Costco and Starbucks have built reputations on treating workers well and offering good benefits. They've been rewarded with loyalty, not just from the people who work for them, look at their rates of turnover versus comparable kinds of companies, but also loyalty from customers. People like me, people like a lot of you in this room, I assume are more likely to go to Costco and more likely to go to Starbucks because of that. We should reward companies who do right by their workers and help them create more jobs. My plan would give companies a tax break when they commit to staying in the U.S., when they commit to hiring in the U.S., when they provide good wages and fair benefits for workers. Why shouldn't they enjoy a lower tax rate than those companies that depend on the government to subsidize their workers? As I mentioned, Steve Hill is a small business owner in Ohio. He owns 2 pizza shops, one in Columbus, one in nearby Galloway. He wrote to me saying he's an advocate of raising the minimum wage. He thinks businesses shouldn't be able to reward investors until they pay their workers a wage above what it would entail for them to qualify for government assistance. If his small business can pay his workers a living wage in Ohio, why should major corporations get away with relying on taxpayers to pick up their tab for their workers? Stephen has the right idea. It's why I invited him to come and listen to President Trump's address last week. Now, I can hear the complaints coming from the corporate boardroom. I get that. These ideas cost too much. We'll have to raise prices. We'll have to lay off workers. It's funny, though, they never say that when they reward multi-million-dollar corporate bonuses. Corporations always want to talk about the cost of raising wages and benefits. But what about the cost to our society of not raising wages and benefits? We've seen what years of stagnant wages and a fraying safety net have cost our country and its millions of workers. It's time we did something about it. Work unites all of us. Pope Francis teaches us we don't get dignity from power, nor money, nor culture. We get dignity from work. Some of the ideas I've laid out are new. Others we've talked about before, but haven't been laid out as part of a broader agenda to restore the value of work for all Americans. We need to rethink about how we think about the economy. Instead of individual solutions to niche problems, we need to offer universal solutions to a universal problem, the declining value of work. That's what this plan's about. It's to make life better for all workers, every single one of them. This is the heart of populism. Populism is for the people, not these people, not those people, but all people. It's not about appealing to some by pushing others down. It's about lifting everyone up. Populism is not about who it excludes, but about who it embraces. As much as those afternoons listening to steel workers and auto workers in Mansfield, Ohio taught me many years ago, this plan is not about going back to that Union Hall and recreating the 1970s. I understand that. It's about moving forward with a stronger American economy and for each and every American who works for this economy, who works in this economy. It's about updating economic policies and retirement policies and labor law to solve the challenges workers face today so we build the brighter future that all of us yearn for tomorrow. The value of work is not about the color of your skin. It's not a blue-collar issue. It's not a white-collar issue. It's not a liberal issue. It's not a conservative issue. When we talk about work, we talk about everyone and we talk to everyone. When we restore value to work, when we make our country a better place for every single American. That's what this plan aims to do. Thank you for listening.